Aaron Cheruiyot, let's hear from you.
Well, Dipal, I'm really saddened this morning. Not that I didn't expect it, but I never expected people that I hold in high regard, like Otiende Amolo and Jakoyo Midiwo, to give an excuse for the kind of violence that we saw in Kibra. They may laugh about it. They may make fun at Boni Alwale. They may think it's fun. You may call it voter protection as you want to call it. But let me tell you, Jakoy, violence is not a good thing. Please, I hope even as you put on the bravado on TV, Otiende, being the sensible friend that I have in you, that when you sit down as a party, as ODM, you must have a conversation about violence. Because the difference between Kenya and Somalia, the difference between Congo and South Africa, is the actions that were being done in Kibra, where people refuse to live by the rule of law and they decide to live by the rule of the jungle, because that is exactly what I saw in Kibra on Thursday. Let me tell you what happened, Dibal, and this is the part that you do not know. There's something I was hoping Boni says, but he didn't say. Let me help him. You see, by Tuesday of that week leading to that election, Jubilee and ODM being the front runners, it was going to be reduced to who was more desperate for this win. And by desperation, I mean who would do whatever it takes to win. But we all thought that by that you mean do what is prescribed in law for you to be able, that ensure your mobilizers are out, ensure that in your strongholds your people vote as much as possible, and that kind of a thing. Little did we know that ODM had sat down and crafted a plan where they ensured that in their strongholds, places like Sarangombe, that people will vote peacefully and ensure that as many as possible turned out. But in places where they knew that Jubilee enjoyed a favorable support from the locals, in places like Woodley, where I was, that they will unleash violence of unimagined proportion to scare away viewers. And this is not just Aaron Cheruiyot interpreting. On this very channel, Dibal, if you watch news on Saturday evening on NTV, one of your reporters went out to Kibra, and they were asking people why there was such a low voter turnout. They interviewed 8 people. I counted because I was keen on this. Out of the 8 people that were interviewed, 6 said, we wanted to go and vote. But when we realized that it was getting violent, first of all, out of the 6, 4 were women and 2 were gentlemen. That when we realized that it wasn't safe, we chose to stay away. Therefore, ODM's strategy in terms of scaring away voters, especially in Jubilee strongholds, is what has given them this win. But then you have got to question, number one, and Boni will tell you, it's not that as Jubilee they didn't have this intel. When they held their last strategy meeting on Wednesday morning, many of the people that Boni Halwale was seated with said that, gentlemen, you are aware that ODM is planning violence. Why don't we also set up our boys? I am glad they chose the moral highway. And they said, what will happen in Kibra, for example? I want to tell Otiende and Jakoyo that it was not difficult for Jubilee to also arm the young people of Kibra and tell them, if you see Jakoyo, if you see Otiende, if you see Simbarati, please let them have a taste of what you guys were doing to Didimas Baraza. What will be the event? We'd now be talking about how many people were killed. Yeah. But as a party, we chose the responsible path of peace and expected that the police will do their work, which they failed to, which is another story that I do not want to get into, why the police were actually watching as citizens were being battled. If you watch that clip of Boni Alwale trying to repulse of that young man that wanted to kill him with that rock, that is a boulder. That is not even a stone. Had that stone gotten Boni Alwale, we'd now be talking about condolences message to his family. But here you are, you guys laughing, making fun of it. You have to get to a point where you realize that what is right is right. What is wrong is wrong. That is what we do on this show each and every Tuesday. We must always be ready to stand up and be called out. Whenever I have had opportunities where Otiende has convinced me with good reason to support the kind of ideas he has, I've always changed my mind and said, okay, fair enough. Whenever I felt that I've said something that perhaps didn't augur well with citizenry, I go back and say apologies. That is not what is expected of me as a leader. But for ODM leaders to try and excuse what happened in Kibra is extremely wrong. Because, Dibal, here's the danger. We are moving to an election cycle in the next 1.5 years. If everybody begins to play this bedroom politics, where it is said certain regions belong to certain people only, will we have a country? I thought the essence of our democracy is to allow everybody to have their say and then eventually let the voters have their way by way of majority.
Thank you.
But if we play this kind of politics, and I want to tell ODM, if the rest of us decide to play bedroom politics the way you are doing, you will have very small places to play that kind of politics. Because essentially, you control a very small part of this country. Therefore, Dibal, allow me just to say this in conclusion. It cannot be that as leaders, we say the kind of things that were being said, that, oh, that is voter protection, that is citizen arrest. You know, Jakoyo, you are a man that has been in politics in Kenya for a long time. I want to believe that you have ambition and perhaps one day you may want to lead this country. How will you feel if you go to certain regions of the country where your community is not dominant and then they tell you, we are doing voter protection by doing the things they were doing to Didimas Baraza? Please, you're a good man. Don't excuse that kind of a behavior.
Jakoyo.
Well, Aaron, thank you for lamentations. You know, I saw you not too long ago saying how threatening people in the mouth. I think it's not even a month. And violence is wrong, but there's some good violence. You know, now, look about the world, and I want to talk to you as a student of international politics. I know nothing changes unless citizens take matters into their own hands. The bigger picture here is a scenario where the person in government, number 2 man in government, converts a government house into a hotel where people go and get money. And all these people, whether it is Didimas Baraza or Boni Halwale, all these people, they are clips in your possession where they just keep abusing. Then you go to the people that you have been abusing. Like Boni is saying, something which I was expecting you to challenge him, that there's a saying that if you are confronted with an uncircumcised boy, you understand? 2 days ago, there is a woman, the women rep of Garissa, said, Raila is uncircumcised. What do you want us to say? You know, it was very interesting when you watched the people take over. And remember, you cannot use the word Jubilee and still behave as if Ruto is not part of government. He controls the police. They should have been the ones doing arresting. I mean, what powers does Raila have in government? He is just a better organized politician. He knows how to win elections, and they know how to steal his elections. And now, those boys whose elections have been stolen right from 2007 have learned how to react. And what we should be addressing is that deal with IEBC, do proper civic education. IEBC puts people in those in those situations to react. Get away when politicians go, including that Sifuna, when they talk like that. Why are they not arrested? When a woman like that woman of Garissa talking, why are they not arrested? When that Didimas Baraza talks the way he talks, why does he even belong in leadership in Kenya? And why does he not expect reaction? I'm sure he is very lucky to be alive. Mm-hmm. If I were him, I would not talk that way and go to the people who have been abusing. People, the mere fact that you are a member of parliament does not give you the license to think that the rest don't belong in a country. Let me just say this. We were here 2 weeks ago, and we said when there was violence, and we all condemned it. We all condemned it. But how do we expect citizens to behave differently than they behaved in 2007, than they have behaved in Kibra, if the more things appear to change, the more they get worse. You know, you were talking about helpless people, and I hope we do what Chileans are doing, we do what the Lebanese are doing. We hope these politicians must understand that we can wake up one day and go burn that parliament. Because that is what they are inviting us to do. IBC is dysfunctional, the state is dysfunctional. Where else are Kenyans supposed to do? You know, you cannot even talk about this violence.
We need to take a short break. Yes, just finish.
You cannot talk about this violence without talking about the violence of money. The money is stolen from the people.
All right.